Breaking news out of the NBA. Trailblazers star Damian Lillard set to undergo abdominal surgery on Thursday. Lillard will then be reevaluated in 6 to 8 weeks. That's according to multiple reports. He's missed 10 of Portland's past 19 games while dealing with the abdominal injury. Portland missing both Lillard and his backcourt mate CJ McCollum because of injuries. If Lillard comes back in 6 to 8 weeks, that would put his return somewhere in March. Welcome in former NBA Coach of the Year, Avery Johnson, won a championship as a player with the Spurs in 1999. Damian Lillard, a superstar in the NBA, Coach. But the trade deadline fast approaching, about a month away. How does this impact his trade value? Of course, he still has plenty of years left on his deal. He signed a 4-year extension in 2019.
This has no effect on his trade value, and especially if I'm the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm on the hotline calling Portland, trying to, do something in terms of a trade for Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is healthy. He can play tomorrow, I believe. So this has no effect on his trade value, even if the Lakers want to get involved. But I'm zeroing in on the Philadelphia 76ers. I think actually this is some really good news for the 76ers, knowing that, hey, maybe they think, they won't need as much in return for this type of a trade in the Portland Trailblazers, but I would be trying to make this deal tomorrow, and I would be waiting by Damian Lillard's bedside when he's in recovery from surgery, knowing that they really don't need him until playoffs. The Philadelphia 76ers, independent of where they're going to be seated, they will not need Damian Lillard to be ready until the playoffs, and I would be making that call as of yesterday.
So you're telling me, as a former coach, you're not looking at any hesitation if you were to acquire Damian Lillard? Like, perhaps you look at this as damaged goods. This is an abdominal injury. Don't necessarily know how it might react, how he's going to recover from this. So you're saying, doesn't matter, I'm making a deal.
I'm making a deal if I'm Doc Rivers. When I have an opportunity to pair Joel Embiid and Damian Lillard with the rest of that roster, independent of what other pieces you have to give up, here's a guy I'll have in uniform for the next, 3 years or so. This kid's still in the prime of his career. And an abdominal injury is not going to really slow him down too much. I think he needs a change of scenery. I predicted that Damian Lillard wasn't going to even be on the Trailblazers roster this year. So, yes, I was wrong. But this is a great opportunity for a team, especially in the Eastern Conference, as close as Philadelphia is, to try to seize the moment, to make the call, to try to pry away Damian Lillard from the Portland Trailblazers.
Certainly wish him a speedy recovery, but the news here, Damian Lillard set to undergo abdominal surgery on Thursday, expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks. Avery Johnson with his perspective here on CBS Sports HQ. Avery, thank you. And here's a look at their upcoming schedule. Trailblazers 12-17 with him this season, 4-7 without him as you take a look at their upcoming schedule. They're coming off back-to-back wins, had a win on Monday against Brooklyn. And the kid that stepped up in that game, Anthony Simons, stepping up in Lillard's place, had 23 points, a career-high 11 assists in the win against Brooklyn with the 16-24 record that Portland has. Trailblazers 10th in the Western Conference, so square in that play-in game. For more perspective, welcome to CBS Sports fantasy basketball analyst Amir Tyree. Amir, we just talked about Damian Lillard and what this might mean for Portland here. We know that Anthony Simons has stepped up in his place. Who are you filling in on your DFS roster, your season-long roster with Damian Lillard out? And I know a lot of fantasy owners have been dealing with Damian Lillard, fantasy managers dealing with Damian Lillard out for some time. Who are a couple guys you're targeting now that Lillard's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks?
Yeah, like you said, Anthony Simons has been really impressive. I don't necessarily expect him to keep the level he's been playing at up, but 20 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, a little over, or 6 assists per game, over 3 rebounds per game, without Damian Lillard through 8 appearances this year. CJ McCollum's going to be back. He's just waiting on the birth of his child. I don't necessarily think that anyone on that Portland Trailblazers team, maybe in like spot man, so you look at Larry Nance being out. Nasir Little's going to get a little bit more burn. Ben McLemore's getting a little bit more burn. But yeah, it's really going to be hard to get those quality point guards across board with low rostership in most leagues. That's points or roto leagues. But if you just look at guards in general, there are a couple guys who are still on the rise but can still stand out. Among those players is Malik Monk, who's averaging 20 points per game, really playing well as that third option behind LeBron and Russell Westbrook out in Los Angeles, which when I checked earlier today, he was close to 70% rostered in CBS leagues. And then another person to look at who I've been looking at as a category booster for three-point shooting and a couple other things as well, just a waiver wire target. Gary Harris of the Orlando Magic. The Magic as a team are not spectacular, but he's actually improved his points per game total with each month this year, 18 points per game so far in January. And he shot over 40% from three in December, and he's on pace to do it for the second consecutive month. And his minutes have really gone up. So those are two guys at the guard position, not necessarily point guards to get you the assists, but they can definitely provide production for you in the short term.
Amir, let's say that you have Damian Lillard rostered. He's on your roster right now. Are you making a trade for him, or are you keeping on, or are you hanging on to him until he returns?
Yeah, I think that kind of depends on the status of your roster as a whole. If you feel like you have another guy you can kind of supplement some of his stats with, one player is not going to be able to replicate what Damian Lillard does at his best. If you're really starved for immediate production and you need a guy, then I would trade him. If you have like decent depth and you think he's going to come back and be able to recreate his stats on like via trade by getting back with the 76ers, then maybe you hold on to him. I know teams are definitely going to be interested in bringing him in. It just depends on what kind of depth you had, and if you do trade him, there are other guys who are coming around, coming off an injury bug. Like you look at Jamal Murray's just around the corner, maybe targeting a February return. He's a guy who's just over 50% rostership, at least in CBS league. So maybe he's someone you target if you do choose to pass up on Damian Lillard. But personally, I think he's a guy you hold on to unless you get a great offer with some above average complementary players for your roster.
Going to have surgery on Thursday, reevaluated in 6 to 8 weeks. Amir Tyree with his perspective here on CBS Sports HQ. Amir, thank you.
Thank you.
And here's a look at the Western Conference standings. As I mentioned, Portland sitting 16-24 back-to-back wins with this news coming out. Trailblazers 10th in the Western Conference, sitting square there on the play-in game scenario. But with the loss of Damian Lillard now, perhaps the Portland Trailblazers will slide, or maybe guys like Anthony Simons, like Amir Tyree said, will help carry the load there, and Portland Trailblazers will be in the mix.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.